this is a very old tomb, by the way. Okay, this is called Metcalfe's house. So I'll give a bit of history. So this was originally built as the tomb of Quli Khan, Akbar's period, right? So he was a brother of one of Akbar's leading generals, and he built his tomb here. But of course, many hundreds of years after that, we are in the middle of the 19th century, approximately 1830, 1840, right? So we have Thomas Metcalfe who comes to India and then sort of moves to Delhi in 1813 and then lives here forever, right? And kept getting promoted and was soon the resident of Delhi, right? So resident was a post of the British East India Company. It was like both the administrator, their ambassador, whatever you want to call it, they would also administratively run a place. So for example, Delhi right from 1803 was administratively run by the British East India Company. Before that you had the Marathas, but after they were defeated, the British East India Company was running Delhi. And he, much later, post 1834-35, he became the resident. And he was the last resident because that is exactly when Bahadur Shah Zafar also became the emperor, right? And what happened was, with Bahadur Shah Zafar after the rebellion of 1857, there was no more the Mughal Empire, and of course what happened was the British Crown took over all properties of the British East India Company. So the post of resident went away, then the British came up with their own civil services and all that stuff and set up their own new roles. So he was like the last resident of Delhi, and so what he did was, as I said earlier, he acquired all this property. Whoever was there, he shoot them away, took over this land, some Gujars were there, and he made his house here, right? He had a main house, incidentally, which was north of what we call Purani Delhi.
Not Delhi, there is a
Not Delhi, there is a Metcalfe house.
house.
Today, it's some part of some DRDO, so nobody can go there. This incidentally is broken down. This was the other house. That was called the city house. This was called Dil Khusha. He named it Dil Khusha, like, okay, Dil Khush. So he came here for, it was a retreat for him, right? Incidentally, Bahadur Shah Zafar also, there is a Zafar Mahal in Mehrauli, where Bahadur Shah Zafar used to come. So his purported reason of building this was that he'll keep an eye on the emperor, right? So that's why he built this. But this was much changed. This was the original tomb. You can see walls here and there. He had extended it completely. We'll go inside and see the main tomb chamber, the tomb chamber. There are British gardens all over. There are paintings. There is something called the Delhi Book, which was incidentally commissioned by him. It has the largest single collection of historic paintings of the 19th century. It's now in the British Library. There's a section you can go and see it there. Luckily, they've scanned everything, so if you want, I can show you the photograph, download it, so you can go to the British Library online thing and you can download those images. They are highlighted as images. So there are beautiful gardens of flowers around, typical, carry-on so you have these beautiful gardens that they had laid out here. And this was a full-fledged house, right? Very different. So now they have broken the outer structure and you just have the original tomb left. His house, right? The whole structure. Right? When it was being finished, when Metcalfe had been having his dinners and lunches here, there would have been more color, right? So you have to stretch your imagination. This is a good seed for that imagination. But they would have, the leaves and petals would be red and green, right? And if you can go to many places where you can get inspiration. Taj Mahal is where they actually use stone, so it doesn't fade. So you get to see the original. There are parts in the Red Fort where these sort of things are being maintained behind plastic. They have protected those segments of the wall to show how the wall is red. Now there is nothing red, it's all red stone, but usually there was plastic on it, right? So they took inspiration from the circle in the middle and then they have redone this thing. This was done in the last 1 or 2 years. So if you had come for Jayati's box 2 years back, it was not like this. So basically this is recently restored. Yes, this is done again. This is maintained by ASI of India, Archaeological Survey of India, and this is sort of okay.
Normally for
Here is this. right? Which is the lawn. So interestingly, during Mughal times, there were no lawns, right? If you go to a Mughal orchard, if you go to their original char bags, you would not have an orchard. You know, a lawn is highly wasteful. We can't support it in water. It's very water intensive, right? So very difficult to support. Today we have pumps and all, but surely the Mughals didn't have it.
Can do is support pollination. No pollinator will come. So, and the other is for example, in certain.
This area where we are in Mehrauli is historic. For many reasons, but the first reason.
Something to do with Lodhi dynasty.
Okay.
A lot of Lodhi action happened.
True. The first reason is probably this is the first city of Delhi. I don't know how many. So there were many cities of Delhi, like all cities, like Rome. Everyone says they have many cities. True for Delhi also. Very old, beautiful city. So the first city here was set up by the Rajputs, right? It was, about 1.5 kilometers as the crow flies around here. This whole area was where. So about 1,000 years back, the city was. Again, a major historic from an architecture perspective in India. Was arch being built. There was no, let's say, the earlier technology that we had in India, there was no arch. Does anyone know what an arch is? Other than architects, they will know.
This type of
So everything looks like an arch, right? But why is arch special?
So it's kind of validation. Supported by a set of.
You can see an arch. Let's come. I'll show you an arch. And we'll start now. You'll see the stones like this, then stone like this, then stone like this. So there was no arch as a technology of construction, right? So when these armies came, as usual with invading forces, migrating populations, technologies move. This technology came. So the first arch is there, built in around 1288. Okay, but that has now fallen into ruins, closed. It seems, I was just seeing today, ASI is trying to restore it again so that it is accessible. There's a deep jungle here about 12 months back. So thankfully they are restoring it so that it becomes accessible to the public again.
Are arches like original Mughal architecture or like Muslim architecture or derived from somewhere?
So arches have been there before also. It means there are arches in Greece. So as technologies move, right, they move between trading partners,
Like it
and
came from
that is about 15 to 20 years older than the one here, and that still stands. So those of you who are interested should take a ticket there. That's ticketed, obviously. It's a World Heritage Site, so you have to go inside and you can have a look at it. But historically, another important milestone is the Balban's tomb. You will hear about it when you hear about the Mehrauli Archaeological Park. It has the oldest arch and dome in Delhi, in India, right? So there was no arch before that in India, and that's where the first thing done. Again, so that is again 1288, means about 250 years. Just imagine a huge span of time between that. So there was many sultanates, right? So Delhi Sultanate was a series of 5 sultanates. Started with the Mamluks, who were the slave dynasty. Then we had the Khiljis, you had the Tughlaqs, you had Sayyids, and then you had the Lodhis. Ibrahim Lodhi was defeated by Babur at the first battle of Panipat, and then you had hundreds of years of Mughal rule in Delhi. He was a Sufi saint. Again, interestingly, across multiple dynasties. Right? So he started at the time of the Lodhis, continued, and in the end died under the Mughals. So he was the court poet of Sikandar Lodhi. He also was tutoring him in poetry and all. He was a very learned man, right? Highly traveled in other parts of Asia, went to Middle East, wrote Persian prolifically. So he did all that stuff. After Sikandar Lodhi, there was Ibrahim Lodhi, and then when Babur came, Babur again continued supporting him. So this structure is actually, its construction started at the time of Babur, right? So 1526, another 250 years after that. So large colonies. So when you can imagine when this was being built, that was already so old. When you go to colonies, they are like 50 years old, 100 years old. That was 250 years old when they started building this, right? And that is 1528. Already 500 years from today, right?
उनको टाइटल दिया था जमाली, उनको पेट नेम था उनका, एंड उनके मतलब ये वो तो सूफी वो थे, लेकिन उनके ऐसा बोलते एक बिलीवर थे, उनको मतलब लोकल लेजेंड्स ओरल हिस्ट्रीज बोलती है उनका नाम कमाली था, एंड ही वाज आल्सो हिज लवर. दे वर बोथ लवर्स. तो उनकी ग्रेव्स भी मतलब ऐसे बनी हुई है कि जैसे ये चीज़ को सिग्निफाई करती है.
Interesting. So yeah, before this, so that must have already existed. Balban's tomb was existing. This area was obviously, by then there were other cities of Delhi, right? So by the time Sikandar Lodhi was there, all the other so-called cities of Delhi, right? Other than the Mughal cities. So the Mughal cities where you had what we call Purana Kila, which was after this. Humayun built it. It was Humayun's Kila called Din Tana. That was made by Humayun. After that, what we call as Purani Delhi today was built by Shah Jahan, even older. But more or less, cities had reached what is called Green Park area now, right? So you had what is called Oscars area, Siri, Tughlakabad. All these areas were smaller towns that had been built. Firozshah Kotla by Firozshah Tughlaq. So these areas were built. Firozshah, by the way, Firozshah Kotla, where you have the cricket stadium today, not much of the cities left because they have lotuses there, you have other flowers, all sorts of things have been built in this, right? But yeah, essentially a prayer mosque. The mihrab is very nice. You should see that. It's like a prayer spot, right? But as you can see, if you go to other mosques, that one is obviously broken down. You can see on the other side they still exist. So part of this, obviously, in ruins. By the way, there are photos of this place from 1885, right? So all these trees, nothing like this existed. It was just banjar land in front of it. So there are photographs from that time that exist today, and it can be found quite easily. But yeah, this is extremely beautiful. You will not find so much work having been done earlier. Now I'll let you tell them what they have is, right? Go ahead.
इसके बारे में
हाँ, क्या होता है मिहराब और
होती है सुबह से लेकर शाम तक जितनी भी होती है एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस देखते हैं ये कुरान की आयत वर्सेस जो है ये कैलीग्राफ करे हुए हैं ये देखो ध्यान से ये सारे और मुझे एक चीज़ पूछनी थी आपसे सर ये काफ़ी जगह मैंने ये स्टार भी देखा है जैसे हुमायूं's tomb इसका क्या पर्पस है?
So I'll explain. So this is Islamic art, right? So Islamic art typically has three characteristics, especially at a semi-religious. This is a fully religious place, but a tomb is a semi-religious called as geometric patterns, right? You'll have stars, you'll have those, crosses and other things, arches, semicircles. So that is used as one. Second is, as he said, they use calligraphy. This is beautifully written ayat from the Qurans. It's verses basically from there.
Also this one, like you see this one?
Yeah.
This is Allah.
This is Allah written.
Allah. It's Allah in Arabic.
Allah. That's right.
And what are the stars?
So I'll explain the history of stars. And then the third thing on Islamic art in religious places will be floral motifs. So you will see flowers. So flowers are allowed. So they would use flowers, leaves. If you go to the Taj Mahal, right? You go to Humayun's tomb in Delhi. Beautifully done floral motifs, leaves, exquisitely done, right? So you can enjoy them. Now he asked about the star. So if you guys count, this is a 6-pointed star.
Yes.
Are there other stars?
Yes, 5-pointed.
5-pointed star. Where is that used? Incidentally, another big semi-philosophy uses it.
Yeah, I mean that's also controversial, I guess. It's there in Christianity, but it's supposedly taken from the pagan.
No, so 5-pointed star.
Star of David.
This is Star of David.
This is Star of
This is Star of David. The 5-pointed star is used by another big movement.
Okay.
Who uses it? Any? Huh? No, Zionist is the David star, obviously. So, by the way, the 5-pointed star is the communist star. Okay? Another huge movement, almost religious in nature. So, all the communist stars, whether you see the Soviet Union, the Chinese flag today has a 5-pointed star. So anyway, so this is what is called, so all the Abrahamic religions, right? Again, coming back from the source of Abraham, all three of them are, so as they say, there are 5 main religions in the world, right? 3 of them have started in one city, supposedly other 2 have started in another city. So the first 3 are the Abrahamic religions, right? Judaism, which is Zion, or the Israeli religions. Other is Islam. So you have, started around there. They're 3rd or 4th largest Al-Aqsa mosque is based in Jerusalem. And then you have Christianity, which also started. These are the 3 Abrahamic religions. So this is the Star of David. So all 3 religions use this as symbols. So
the Star of Bethlehem is the same thing.
Same thing, because it was there, every religion that came there, right? So it was the Star of David. So the oldest religion is Judaism.
Just like swastika is used in Hinduism and Jainism also.
So the symbols are same. So because Judaism was the oldest religion, it was supposed to be the Star of David. So all successive religions that came there co-opted those symbols. The other 2 religions, anyone wants to guess which they are? The larger religions, the largest religions of the world, and where they supposedly originated from? India, good question, because obviously. So, which is the other city, like Jerusalem, it's called. It's again, that city is supposed to be Jerusalem is supposed to be one of the oldest continuously habited cities. Religion sort of causes it. It causes business, commerce to reach it. So Jerusalem is one of it. What is the Indian counterpart? Varanasi. So Varanasi is supposedly
Full points.
set up by Shiva. Nobody knows of that, but it is supposedly there are archaeological remains that go. It's almost one of the oldest continuous habited city in India, right? So that is and the two religions that started from there. One is obviously
She told
Hinduism.
both.
Buddhism. Yeah, so that is where the place. If you go there, do visit Sarnath. That's where the first Buddha this thing happened probably. So from that perspective, again an interest.
So that way it is a good biodiversity hotspot. The moment we start removing weeds, undergrowth and making it a park, that's where we lose the biodiversity. So this is a this part has been like this for, you can imagine, since forever. Very interestingly, if you read about Razia Sultan, obviously her alliance with her at that point of time with a person of a very different socio-economic strata, somebody who's completely different, different race and so on. Does anybody know where Yaqub was from?
Ethiopia.
He was from Ethiopia, so came through the slave trade route literally to India, and then now Razia Sultan is having her dates with him. There is reference to this, this area where she would then find, slightly safer zones to date, because there was just wilderness all over. Yeah, so this is that old. So if you want to attach a romantic angle to it, it's been there since Razia Sultan and Yaqub. The trees here are all the
Sultan is what Sultanate? Which Sultanate?
Delhi Sultanate.
Delhi Sultanate.
The first one.
Yeah.
First one.
Yeah.
Slave.
So precedes this, right?
Huh?
Precedes this.
Yeah, precedes this by many hundred years. So the first of the Delhi Sultanates was.
First of the Delhi Sultanate.
By the way, she was almost the only female Sultan in all of Delhi's history.
Yeah.
We didn't have any other.
Thereafter, there were all other male sultans. Yeah.
Before, after, it's sort of unique. So we don't have too many women rulers in India, right? If you look at even someone like you look at Rani Lakshmibai, right? Modern times, one of the most well-known. Even she was ruling on the name of her son. You go to the Marathas, you had very strong women there. Shivaji's mother, a lot of other women, very strong there. But again, whoever the Bhosles were ruling or something else happening, they were always in support mode. Razia Sultan was actually the Sultan, right? For 4 years she ruled Delhi and the whole empire at that time. But she was literally, so that way, again, absolutely revolutionary, groundbreaking, historic.
उस टाइम बोलते थे कि उसका ऐसा मतलब ऑपोजिशन होता था कोर्ट में, बहुत ज़्यादा उसके खिलाफ कॉन्स्पिरेसीज हुई, मतलब फिर उसने कैसे ना कैसे अलायंस करके अपने आप को बचाने की कोशिश की, बट आखिर में वो काफ़ी लोग बोलते हैं कि कैथल में मारी गई, उसकी कब्र वहाँ, काफ़ी लोग कहते हैं टोंक में, एक यहाँ दिल्ली में भी उसकी कब्र है, यहाँ पे तुर्कमान गेट के अंदर.
तो वही that trees which grow well are those stunted shrubs, right? So don't require a lot of water. Don't require a lot of water. Anybody from Rajasthan here? No. So that's the kind of, so the stunted, sparse, not something with thick foliage, that will not work there, and that's not what we want. So but this tree is an evergreen one, and you all know this tree, so have a look at it. Yeah, so a fabulous tree to have here. This is one. The other tree which is also very local is that we will have before we move there, we will do a 10-second exercise of observing the leaves of that tree. And all of you who've been coming for my walks know why I'm telling you to observe the leaves, because that will tell you that it's a native tree. Observe the leaves and tell me why is that a native tree and what's a native tree and why it's good. Come let's go.
What is the question? Eaten by insects?
That. yes. So it is eaten by insects. So the reason, so there's okay, I don't want to launch into a long biodiversity lecturing, and we didn't put, it came with sailors, it came with traders, it came with the colonial rulers and so on. Why I am specifically saying the colonial rulers is because they came from a climate very different from ours. I am not talking about those who came from Iran or Afghanistan, because we share the same ecology to a large extent. So it was not harmful. But the ones which came from so far away were harmful. And what happens is they do not support any life. Unlike humans, animals don't like to eat foreign food. So they will not eat a species which is not from there. Now this one, the very fact that this has got so much moth-eaten, bug-eaten leaves means it is from here. because insects are eating this, and it's providing sustenance to a large variety of insects, and that's why this is good. So that is one of the most important things to remember about species and native species. So next time you see a palm tree, please don't get excited. It's really bad for us, right? So that's one.
Please like and share the video. Subscribe to our channel Wild Bytes TV.